On Mission Street in San Francisco, financial advisor John Luna set up his office between payday lenders and check cashing stores. Not because the rent was cheap, because twice a month, the people who needed him most were already there. Every payday, a line formed outside those storefronts, not for concert tickets, for a $150 loan. One person in that line was 26-year-old Joshua Ontiveros. Here's the math. Borrow $150, pay back $100 in interest alone. Joshua called it double distress. You're already broke, and the thing supposed to help you just makes you poorer faster. He said he'd wake up at night thinking, how do I even do this? Where do I even go? Joshua wasn't necessarily bad with money. He just never learned what to do the moment a paycheck arrived. So he did what a lot of people do. Spend now, figure it out later. Except later comes fast. That's what happens when you have income but no system. So today, we're building one. It's called cash stuffing. And by the end of this video, you'll have a system you can use with your very next paycheck. And we'll come back to Joshua at the end. Let's define it. Cash stuffing means dividing your money into labeled spending categories and only spending what's available in each category. That's genuinely the whole idea. Groceries get an envelope, gas gets an envelope, fun gets an envelope. Once an envelope is empty, you're done spending in that category until the next paycheck lands. That's the entire system. And no, cash stuffing won't get you flagged at airport security, despite how it sounds. Despite the TikTok makeover, this isn't new either. It's essentially the old envelope budgeting method, over 100 years old, dressed up with new names and much better binders. Your great-grandmother was doing this before girl math was a phrase. But there's an important distinction worth knowing before you start. Not every expense belongs in an envelope. Fixed expenses are things like rent, phone bills, and loan payments. They're generally predictable, they have to be paid, and you don't really get a vote. So those stay on autopay. Variable expenses are where your own decisions actually change the number. Food, transportation, shopping, entertainment. Those are the expenses cash stuffing is designed to control. Conveniently, also the ones most likely to wreck your month. So, start with one question. Where does your money disappear fastest? That's your first envelope. Why does this work better than simply telling yourself, I'll spend less this month? Because paying doesn't always feel the same. Handing over a $20 bill registers as a small loss, in a way that tapping a card just doesn't. Researchers call this the pain of paying, and it's not just a turn of phrase. A 2021 brain scan study published in Scientific Reports found that showing people a credit card right before a purchase lit up the brain's reward center, the "this feels good" zone, no matter how expensive the item was. Cash only lit up that same zone for cheap stuff. Translation: your brain has been quietly trained to treat swiping as fun and cash as real. That's not you being weak-willed, that's wiring. In one lab auction, people bid about 15% more for the exact same item when told they'd pay by card instead of cash. Same item, same people, different payment method. And that was the only thing that changed. But a lab is a lab. Here's the study that actually holds up outside one. In 2015, researchers gave cash grants to 861 refugee households. Half got the money plain. Half got the same money plus labeled envelopes for categories like education and health. 93% of that second group actually used the envelopes, and a year later, they had higher income and higher savings than the group that got identical money with no envelopes at all. Same dollars. Only difference was a label and a fold of paper. There's another mechanism doing work here too: mental accounting. We naturally treat money differently depending on what we've assigned it to, even though a dollar is a dollar and your bank account has never once cared what you called it. $200 sitting in checking can feel like available money. $200 labeled rent feels already spent. Cash stuffing just makes that mental separation physical and visible. So the point isn't that cash is magical. It's that separating money gives your spending actual boundaries, and cash, with its small sting of a pain of paying, makes those boundaries harder to ignore than a number on a screen ever will. Why does this matter so much when you're getting your first paycheck and not just budgeting in general? Because the odds are already a little stacked against first-time earners. As of late 2025, 42% of younger workers reported living paycheck to paycheck, which means almost half the people your age have zero slack if something goes wrong in a given month. And it gets tighter. As of early 2026, roughly a third of Gen Z reported having no emergency savings at all. Not a small cushion, zero. That means one unexpected expense can turn into debt very quickly. A flat tire, a medical bill, a week where you simply spend more than expected. And a lot of people are one bad month away from a payday loan line, like the one Joshua was standing in. Without a system, the solution becomes, I'll deal with it next paycheck. And that's how the cycle starts. This isn't meant to scare you. It's meant to explain why a simple rule matters more right now than it will in 5 years. The habits you build with your first few paychecks are disproportionately powerful. They either compound into stability or they compound into a cycle of catching up. Nobody warns you that your early financial habits are basically compound interest for your personality. Quick honesty check. Do you know, off the top of your head, how much cash you'd have left if every want purchase stopped today? If the answer's no, that's exactly the gap we're closing. Your first paychecks aren't just money, they're practice. So, let's build the system. Here's a beginner version you can use on your next paycheck. The story. Meet Jasmine Taylor from Amarillo, Texas. In January 2021, she was 30, had just lost her full-time job, and was stitching together income delivering pharmacy orders and DoorDash. She was carrying about $60,000 in student loans and another $9,000 in medical and credit card debt. Call it $70,000 because that's basically what it was. She found cash stuffing on, of all places, YouTube, and started posting her own envelopes on TikTok, back, in her words, when TikTok was still mostly kids dancing. 2 years later, the $70,000 was gone. Paid off. Not she felt more mindful about it. Gone. One more thing worth knowing. Jasmine now runs a company that sells budgeting binders and cash envelopes for a living, so she has some financial incentive to tell you this method works. Doesn't make her wrong, the payoff is well documented, but it's the kind of detail worth clocking whenever someone's selling you the exact system that made the money. She didn't do anything exotic. Here's what she actually did. Step 1. Pay the non-negotiables. Rent, phone, loan payments, minimum debt payments. Fixed expenses, remember? They stay on auto pay or get paid immediately. This isn't envelope territory. It's just must happen, no discussion. Step 2. Save something before you touch anything else. It doesn't have to be $500. It can be $20. It can be $50. This is the pay yourself first principle, and it's genuinely one of the most evidence-backed pieces of budgeting advice that exists, cash stuffing or not. The habit matters more than the number. Step 3. Split what's left into 3 or 4 categories. Beginners overcomplicate this by making 12 tiny labeled envelopes and burning out by Thursday. Start small. Groceries, gas/transport, fun money, a system with zero fun money doesn't survive an actual weekend, sinking fund. A sinking fund is just a fancy term for savings toward a bill you know is coming but don't pay every month. Car repairs, gifts, annual bills, that dentist appointment you've been avoiding since spring. Don't create 12 envelopes on day 1. You'll spend more time managing the system than using it. Step 4. When an envelope hits 0, stop. That's the whole discipline. Not borrow from another envelope, I'll pay it back later. Empty means wait until next payday. One Reddit user described doing exactly this on half her normal income during parental leave. Cash out every 2 weeks, split into envelopes, whatever's left goes into savings. She said it genuinely worked for her even on reduced pay. Take that as one data point, not gospel. A stranger on the internet isn't a clinical trial, but it's the same rule that erased Jasmine's $70,000. Simple rules survive contact with messy life better than complicated ones. Before your next paycheck, write down 3 categories where your money usually disappears. That's your starting point. Let's kill a few myths. Myth number 1, 50-30-20 is the correct way to budget. No. It's a guideline, not a law. The 50-30-20 framework became popular through Elizabeth Warren and Amelia Warren Tyaghi's 2005 book, popularized, not discovered in a lab. Here's what that looks like in practice. On a $3,000 paycheck, 50-30-20 says $1,500 should cover your needs. But if you live somewhere rent alone eats $1,500, that math was already broken before you bought a single grocery. In that case, something like 65-20-15, more toward needs, less toward wants until debt or rent eases up, is more honest than forcing the ideal split onto a life it wasn't built for. The number was never the point. Making your own math actually add up is. Myth number 2, cash stuffing guarantees you'll spend less. Again, no. Research suggests people often spend differently with cash than cards. That's a real, measurable tendency, not a guarantee. It won't out-discipline someone determined to overspend anyway. It just removes friction from staying on budget. It's a good treadmill. It is not a magic weight loss pill. Myth number 3, you need physical cash. Also, no. The underlying idea is separating and labeling money, not the paper itself. You can use physical envelopes, or digital subaccounts, or a budgeting app, or a spreadsheet. If digital works better for you, use digital. You're not doing it wrong, you're just doing it without the paper cuts.
Let's be honest, because most videos on this topic won't be. Cash stuffing has weaknesses. It isn't magic, and it isn't for everyone. Plenty of people try it and quit within a month, usually because it's genuinely inconvenient. You have to physically go get the cash, an actual trip to the bank or an ATM every payday, and then remember to bring the right envelope, which, if you're anything like me, means standing at a register realizing your gas money is sitting on your kitchen counter. Cash can also be lost or stolen, and unlike money in a bank account, it isn't covered by FDIC insurance. Nobody's refunding a stolen envelope. It doesn't earn interest either, and it doesn't build your credit history the way responsible card use can, so you're quietly giving up rewards and fraud protection along with the paper cuts. There's another problem, a sneakier one. Nothing physically stops you from taking $40 from groceries and putting it towards shopping. It has no security guard, no alarm. It's an envelope. The system only works if you decide it works and follow the rules even when nobody's watching. Put simply, there's no guarantee cash stuffing stops you from overspending. You still have to actually leave the money in the envelope. None of that means don't try it. A lot of people land on a hybrid. Envelopes for the 1 or 2 categories they actually struggle with, auto pay and cards for everything else. If physical cash becomes a hassle, that's not failure, that's information. Switch to digital envelopes. Keep the separation, lose the paper. Remember Joshua, the guy standing in that payday loan line? Luna's organization eventually put him into something called a credit builder loan, and it's worth actually explaining how that works because it's a genuinely clever fix for a genuinely dumb problem. Here's the problem first. Building credit usually requires credit. Lenders want to see that you've reliably paid back borrowed money before they'll trust you with more of it. But if you've never borrowed anything, there's nothing to point to. It's a locked door with the key sitting on the other side of it. A credit builder loan gets around that. You don't get the money up front like a normal loan. Instead, the loan amount sits in a locked savings account and you make monthly payments toward it, just like you would with a real loan. Each on-time payment gets reported to the credit bureaus, the same way a car payment or a credit card payment would. Once you've finished paying it off, the account unlocks, and the money, basically what you saved, plus a small amount of interest, becomes yours. Sounds like a scam until you realize that's the entire point. It exists purely to build a credit history, on autopilot, using money you were setting aside anyway. Researchers tracking the program found participants were saving roughly a third of every paycheck through it, while their credit scores climbed steadily the whole way through. Joshua's own description of the other side of that process was simple. Being financially stable just feels good, which is one of the more understated sentences a person has ever said in a financial news story. That's what this is really about. You don't need Jasmine's exact system. You don't need Joshua's exact program. You need one system you can actually follow. So here's your assignment before your next paycheck. Write down 3 envelope names. Don't calculate 20 categories, don't buy a fancy binder, don't build a spreadsheet with 47 tabs. Just choose 3 places where your money needs a boundary. Then, when the paycheck lands, give every dollar a job, which is statistically a lot cheaper than a check cashing store. Because the goal isn't to become perfect with money, it's to stop improvising. If this helped, subscribe. I'm breaking down the confusing parts of money in minutes every week.